Hello. So today I want to talk about warm-ups. One of my athletes recently asked about the idea of warming up, activation maneuvers, things like that, and I figure it's a good time to go through with everybody, uh, what it's all about and what I think about it. So generally speaking, I split warm-ups into several categories. So there are general warm-ups. So we're gonna move from like broad strokes to specific issues. So general warm-ups are basically warm-ups that you do without touching the barbells first. So this can look like shoulder dislocations or leg swings for tight hips. This is meant to address a lot of the occupational issues that we tend to get as Singaporeans who sit a lot, do a lot of desk work, spend a lot of time basically in a static position and this set of warm-ups is really meant to just address any specific mobility, sorry, not specific, but more like general mobility issues that you might have first. And then from there, we get to more barbell warm ups. So, in a sense, is when it comes to the power lift or any accessories that you're doing, right? The best warm up is always the exercise itself. So, before we delve into like percentage and how you work up to your top 1 rep max and things like that, basically, if you're going to do high bar squat, the best exercise to warm up for it is high bar squats. And that's where, after you do your leg swings to address your tight hips, then you're going to warm up for the barbell squat. Okay. And along the way, since you already have the barbell on your back, you can do several things like Kang squats on good mornings if you have specific issues that you work out. For example, very stiff lumbar and hips from the prolonged sitting. Or let's say in the deadlift, you want to do some RDLs. For the bench press, you can do close grip, medium grip, pauses, tempos, whatever that you think helps you get ready for the lift itself. And after that, we are moving on to specific warm-ups. So specific warm-ups are targeted to the issue that you experience. So when I say specific, it means that you have a particular problem. So let's say I have tight shoulders. I have really, really tight shoulders and really like messed up like pec minor here. Then I would look at more specific warm-ups that has been like tailored for me for that particular shoulder issue, whether is it like by my coach or by a physiotherapist. So it would be like maybe Lou raises, just to get into the position for squatting, or the dumbbell benching, where you really like stretch the pecs. And I think like this is very common, which is glute activation exercises. I don't particularly feel like they are very, very important, but I'll go into them a lot more in depth later on. So basically, when we consider warming up, right, we're moving from broad strokes to specific issues that we are experiencing as an individual athlete. But the main goal should always be to get you ready for the lifting itself. So whether or not is it doing a triple of comp squats or top 1 and 8 for bench press, the way you warm up is going to be slightly different. For example, if you're dealing with low back pain as well and you're in the rehab period, right, then your warm up is going to drastically look very different from someone else who isn't experiencing any pain. So always find the routine that is tailor-made for you, and over time you learn to like discard things that don't really work and things that you find that you cannot really go without. The whole warm-up routine before you touch the barbell should take maximum 10 to 15 minutes, including like let's say as you are warming up with the barbell itself up to your top set, all the specific drills or activation maneuvers that you want to try out, it shouldn't take longer than that. If you are taking longer than that, then that goes into this realm where if you're spending too much time and energy on warming up, then it will start to eat away at the time that you have to do the exercise itself, or the technical cueing, or the accessories that you want to do. And overall, it's going to eat away at your focus and time that you have in the gym. So you can like add stuff, but over time, right, you need to trim stuff down. So this applies across whether or not is it warming up, the main lifts, or the accessories. Okay, so sometimes I'll get questions like, what about XYZ? What about activation maneuvers? What about this particular exercise that is great for the deadlift? So my personal belief is like general activation maneuvers shouldn't be just added in as a general warm-up. Okay, so what do I mean by this is you shouldn't be like adding like glute activation as part of your general warm-up if you do not have any particular glute issues. But let's say you do have like a glute or low back thing that you want to work on, then that will fall under this category. And that will also come in this sort of order and sequencing that you're trying to do when you're warming up. So you shouldn't really have a general activation maneuver as part of your general warm-up. It should be addressing the particular issue that you have. I'm not saying that they don't work. I'm saying that in terms of, again, the time investment and focus that you are spending, it should be particularly relevant to the issue at hand. So you can apply this principle or like rule of thumb across anything that you're doing. For example, like foam rolling. Physiologically speaking, you're not doing much by foam rolling. But for some athletes, it is part of their warm-up ritual in the sense that they are getting ready psychologically and it's a ritual for them. Then by all means, I'm not going to change that in the short run. I'm not going to be like, oh, in a mid condition, do not go and foam roll if they have been doing it for like donkey years at that point. You will just throw them off. So consider the impact and the intent behind what you're doing, and if it serves you to get ready for the lifting, whether or not is it physiologically like body temperature rising, warming up and getting your joints lubricated, or psychologically it puts you in the right mindset to push and get you ready for the top set. Those two, psychological and physiological, are the domains through which we like consider if, okay, this is beneficial or not beneficial. But again, all within the constraints of 90 minutes or the 120 minutes that you spend in the gym. So basically XYZ, if you substitute it with any specific examples, right? If you tell me that it gets you psychologically in the zone, right, then by all means continue doing it. So that's my take on the whole issue. So what about so sometimes, right, for the last point, what is the issue at hand? Is sometimes an athlete has a particular exercise that they want to do and they don't really correlate that well with like an issue at hand. It just makes them feel better. So sometimes in the off season or like when we are in a bit more relaxed time of the lifting competition prep, then we can start to question all these assumptions. So we can ask, what's the issue at hand that this particular exercise or routine is addressing? Is it positional strength? Is it mobility? So just to give you an example, personally, I have a lot of issues with the deadlift. Whenever I deadlift, I feel like there's a lot of strain in my low back and there's a lot of stress. And last time I used to warm up with a lot of Jefferson curls, a lot of RDLs in order to just get ready for the deadlift. But then I spent like 2, 3, 4 blocks just on increasing my RDL, range of motion, and then my hamstring strength. So something that I noticed from then on is I no longer require as much warm up for my deadlifts because those 3 or 4 blocks really like push me to develop a lot of positional strength at the bottom of the RDL. So I can go deeper and deeper. I can feel my hamstrings, I can feel my hamstrings like load and contract effectively even when they are very lengthened. It doesn't feel like I'm shaking, it doesn't feel like my low back is taking over the movement and rounding in order to touch the bar to the floor. So once I develop that positional strength, right, I no longer require as much warm-ups to address like the low back stress and the strain, because I've like widened my scope and widened my body's capabilities. So if you're experiencing like similar issues where like, okay, you always have to do this particular thing, you always have to do goblet squats or front squats to get your knees ready, then maybe the issue at hand isn't the activation, like the lack of activation. It might be excessive loading in a particular position that your body just do not have tolerance for. So if you explore developing that positional strength, right, then the mobility increases, the strength increases, then you no longer require that warm-up. So those are things that you can consider if you are always facing and hitting the same wall and you find like you cannot like remove the 20 or 35 minutes of just stretching and warming up for that particular movement. And of course, when you throw in fatigue, then it adds in a lot more complications, but that is a video for a different time. Yeah, hopefully this answers some of the questions regarding a warm-up and general principles. Okay, so that's it for this video.